Grazie. And I'm pleased to invite on stage Professor Andrew Hoffmann of Ross School of Business, University of Michigan for his lecture.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Buon pomeriggio. Did I do that right? Thank you. This is such an exciting project. To see the work being done on technology, connecting it to business, we've come so far. My first degree was chemical engineering 40 years ago. And when I wanted to focus on the environment, the only thing that was on the environment was wastewater engineering. And what I'm seeing on the screen here goes so far beyond that. It's very, very exciting. My second degree was in business 30 years ago. And when I talked to people about doing environment in business, most of the professors said, what are you doing here? This has nothing to do with business. Go over to School of Public Policy. And yet again, I see on the screen here this connection to bringing it out into the world, bringing it out through business, public engagement, making sure that it's equitable. This is such an encompassing and exciting project. I've been tasked to open today to set up why are we here, why is this important, and then talk about the evolution of business dealing with these kinds of issues. This has been my focus for the past 30 to 40 years. So that's what I want to talk about today. To help you think about why we are here, I want to try and provoke you into seeing the magnitude of the challenge before us. I was born in 1961. In 1961, there were 3 billion people on Earth. Today, there are 8 billion people. Think about that for a second. It took Homo sapiens almost 300,000 years to go from 0 to 3 billion. And in the course of my short lifetime, we've increased that by 2.5 times. And if I live to the year 2050, I'm going to see 10 billion people on this earth. The challenges that creates are enormous. The opportunities it creates are also enormous. If you think about what's happened in the course of my short lifetime, the global economy has increased 8,900%. It has grown massively. GDP per capita as well has grown 3,100%. We are living better lives through the economy. We're living longer lives through the economy. The economy is doing great things for us, but it comes at a cost. If you look at the amount of materials we are consuming massive amounts of fossil fuels. That's gone up 1,700% in the course of my lifetime. Natural resources, biomass, metals. And we are creating lots of pollution, whether it's plastic waste going up 2,800%, or greenhouse gases going up 500%. This is the challenge before us. How do we deal with this? That's where the role of business comes in. That's where I have been focusing. Over the past 50 years, the UN, through the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, concluded that we have changed the Earth's ecosystem over the past 50 years more rapidly and extensively than in any comparable period of time in human history. We are in a place we have never been before. The impact we're having on the environment is unlike anything we've ever done before. And that is the challenge before us. Now, we have responded. When we think about business sustainability, again, over the course of my lifetime, it has evolved greatly. Go back to 1960, the dawn of the modern environmental movement. In the 70s, the development of regulations, both at the national and the international level, to try and deal with the environmental issues we face. And then business trying to respond, whether it's the Global Reporting Initiative, Responsible Care, the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, Carbon Disclosure Project. All these are attempts to try and work sustainability into the business model to try and get businesses to focus on solving these problems. And it has worked. We have had some successes, certainly around smog, water pollution. We have had advances. And then the issue continues to evolve. More recently, we've had the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 targets that businesses should focus on, and then that's evolved into ESG, environmental, social, and governance, which is very similar to GRI, the three Ps, people, planet, or profit. Businesses trying to focus on all three. We are at an inflection point right now. We are at a transition as we start to think about the challenges before us. So what I want to talk about first is how we have evolved over time, and then I want to talk second about this transition point and where we need to go next, and hopefully stimulate some thinking as you go through the rest of your meeting. The way we've handled it over the past 30 or 40 years is to think about sustainability as a market shift. Whether it's your regulations that are pushing you to do it, the courts, suppliers, and buyers can challenge companies to deal with this issue. Banks, shareholders, insurance companies, trade associations, competitors, all these pressures push companies to start to focus on sustainability. If you see in there, the natural environment is nowhere to be found. Companies respond to the pressures that are applied to them. If you hear a company saying we're doing this because it's the right thing to do, we're doing the right thing, look past it. What is the business rationale for doing it? And if you look closely, the business rationale will take one of these forms. How does a company frame the challenge before them? Is it merely regulatory compliance? Is it operational efficiency? Is it new product development? Is it consumer demand? Does it go to the core of the company? If it does, then you know they're doing it and it's really going to work. Is the electric car a sustainable product today? No, it is not. It is central to the auto sector, and that means it will keep on going, they will keep pressing even when the headwinds grow because it is part of their future business strategy. Whenever I talk to companies, how do you frame environmental issues? I've done a lot of work with Whirlpool. They say we don't talk about climate change, we talk about energy efficiency, particularly in the use phase. That's the only place we can have an impact on solving this problem. So we frame it in that way. You have to frame it in a way that matters to the company, otherwise it won't hit the strategic core. If you're at a company like Walmart, you better connect it to operational efficiency and supply chain logistics if you want the best and the brightest in the company to attend to the issue. If you're in a company like Procter & Gamble, you better connect this to your customers and the new product development that they want. And then you get the best and brightest. And this works. This gets companies to develop new products, bring them to the market, and make them central to their business core. We can see numerous market shifts over the past 1 to 2 decades. On the top, we have the incandescent light bulb on the left. Should we be investing in incandescent light bulb companies? Absolutely not. Next, we have compact fluorescent bulb companies. Should you be investing there? No. LEDs, that's where the market is going. Sustainability is pushing it in that direction. LEDs use significantly less energy. They last significantly longer. They save money, and then it will work. We can think about the evolution of the auto sector, going from a standard combustion engine to hybrids to electrics, and then where can it go from there? We could talk about innovations in the smart home. I have a dumb thermostat on the left in the middle. I have the GE Eco Dashboard and the Nest thermostat. These are all innovations in the smart home, changing how we think about how our home works. This is a very exciting area, especially for me. I used to be a home builder, and I find this really fascinating. The one on the left, the GE Eco Dashboard, is a really wonderful product that measures your water energy use and then gives you a real-time display of the money you are spending on that. And that is key to getting people to pay attention to this. So you could install one of these in your home, and your son or daughter can come home from college and get up in the morning and take their 20-minute shower, as they often like to do, and they'll come downstairs and you'll look at this device and say, that shower just cost €8. Don't do it again. And people connect behavior to outcomes, and it will change their behavior. They'll go on vacation. They'll shut everything down. They'll see the house is still drawing power. Why? They'll learn about phantom loads. They'll learn about appliances in the house that continue to use energy, your refrigerator, your clocks, things like that. Those need to. But then they'll learn that beautiful 60-inch plasma TV they have on the wall is using more energy turned off than a regular cathode ray TV uses turned on, because you have to keep the plasma warm for the instant on. And people start to think differently. My house right now is heating hot water for someone who's not there. There are instant hot water heaters that can work quite well, that can replace that and stop wasting energy. It changes how we think. We could talk about shifts in the energy sector, and then a nice example at the bottom, we could think about shifts in the home appliance sector and in the washers. On the bottom left is your standard top-loading washer. Next over is a front-loading washer. This is a washing machine that uses much less energy and water. And it's interesting, when they were first introduced in the market in the United States, Whirlpool, Maytag, they would all advertise, less water, less energy. And what did they find? Consumers looked at it and said, if it uses less water and less energy, it must not clean so well, and no one was buying them. Because they had to work really hard and educate the public on net present value. You pay up front, you save money over the long term. For an average family of 4 in the United States, in the state of California, where energy and water is expensive, you'll get that money back, the extra differential on the front-loading washer, you'll get that money back in less than a year. That's a no-brainer, but people don't do net present value calculations, so they had to be taught that. If you want another marketing challenge, the picture to the right of that, there's a company that's developed a new washing machine that uses no water at all. It uses nylon beads to clean your clothes. Try selling that to a skeptical public. But there's the challenge before us. There's the exciting stuff. So this all works. We are developing green products. We're bringing them to market. People are buying them. And that's great. But there's a challenge. And so I want to make my transition to the second part of my remarks of where are we going, using this quote from S. Scott Fitzgerald. The test of a first-rate intelligence, the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. So I'm going to presume that everyone here in this room has a first-rate intelligence. And I'm going to ask you to hold two ideas in your head at the same time. Everything I told you so far works. Everything I told you so far allows us to become more sustainable. But if you remember that trajectory I showed you, it keeps on going. I actually don't believe there's ever going to be a point where we're going to stop and go, we're done, we're sustainable. It will be a constant push, a constant change. So everything I've talked about so far will improve our impact on the environment, but it will not stop it. It will slow the velocity at which we're running into a brick wall, but it will not reverse course. To do that, we have to start to think differently. And this is where I hope to provoke you and challenge you to think more deeply about the challenge before us. We are in an unusual new period in human history. We are in what's called the Anthropocene, the age of humans. It is a new geological epoch in which human beings now act as a geophysical force on the planet as a whole. I'm sure you're all familiar with that graph of CO2 emissions. It's called the hockey stick graph. And around 1950, it turns steeply upwards. That is not the only graph that does that. Numerous environmental indicators do the same thing. Numerous social indicators do the same thing. We are in a different period. We are an acting force on the environment. You can't describe the environment right now without including the 8 billion people that are on this planet. To help you think about it on a more personal level, I was once talking to a research chemist at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, and we were talking about this issue. And he said, you know, Andy, there are measurable levels of ibuprofen in the Mediterranean Sea. And that really stopped me, both the statement, and he was so casual about it. He said, Andy, ibuprofen doesn't worry us. It's a fairly benign compound. What does worry us are birth control pills and antidepressants. You take a drug, it goes through your system, it enters the treatment system, it can't handle it, it enters the aquatic ecosystem untouched. And it is changing the flora and the fauna. 8 years ago, scientists in Washington, in the United States, in Puget Sound, were studying the salmon. What did they find in the salmon? They found Prozac. They found 50 prescription drugs. They found cocaine. Guess what? That salmon is ending up on your plate. That's the Anthropocene. we are changing the world around us in ways that are profound, and we have to work that into our assessment of what kind of challenges we're facing and how we're going to solve them. This quote from Stephen Jay Gould, the famous anthropologist from Harvard, captures it quite nicely. He says, "We become, by the power of a glorious evolutionary accident called intelligence, the stewards of life's continuity on Earth. We did not ask for this role, but we cannot abjure it. We may not be suited to it, but here we are. We've stumbled into this. We didn't intend it to happen, and yet now we have to deal with it and figure out how to get out of it." There's the challenge on sustainability. The challenge, as I see it, is start to rethink the precepts of capitalism as we know it. And this isn't just my opinion. These are people inside the market who are saying the same thing, whether it's Joseph Stiglitz, a Nobel laureate in economics, says that capitalism needs to be saved from itself. Paul Polman, the former CEO of Unilever, says capitalism is a damaged ideology that needs to be reinvented for the 21st century. Peter Georgescu says capitalism is slowly committing suicide. How do we amend it? How do we fix it? This isn't even a place where I can quote Tucker Carlson, a very conservative thinker, writer, who says capitalism is a tool like a staple gun or a toaster. If it's broken, fix it. And that's the challenge before us. How do we fix this? First, we have to assess what's wrong. Why is it broken? What are the signs that it's broken? Well, one is in the natural environment. In the idea of the Anthropocene, scientists have defined 9 planetary boundaries. These are boundaries beyond which we should not go if we want to maintain a safe operating system for humans and other life forms, and we are crossing 6 of them. Climate change is the one we all read about, but species extinction. We are in the 6th mass extinction. We are driving species to extinction at an alarming rate. We are acidifying the ocean. We are running out of fresh water. We are destroying habitat. Only one of those planetary boundaries is on the mend, and that's ozone depletion. That gives us some hope that we can do something about this. But this is what we are doing. The important point here is that these are not environmental problems. These are systems breakdowns. We are causing them. To fix a system breakdown, you have to fix the system that's causing it. That system is capitalism. That system is the market. We can also look in the social environment. Income inequality in the world right now is growing to levels we have not seen in over 100 years, since the early 1900s. And it is causing changes in our society. It is destabilizing our society. And that's not just because some people have extraordinary amounts of wealth, but what comes with that wealth is a disproportionate influence on the political process, and they become disconnected from the lives of the great mass of people. And so they start to push policies that don't fit the needs or the interests of the people that they are, the society that they're a part of. There is even research to show that as people become more wealthy, they become less empathetic. They become less concerned because they're disconnected from people around them. If you think about it, I don't know how many of you saw this, but during COVID, David Geffen, a very, very wealthy man, posted a picture on Instagram with a very nice sentiment. He said, "This is where I'm quarantining. I hope everyone else is safe." What he included with that post was a picture of his $450 million yacht parked in the Caribbean, and people went at him. I have no problem with him having a $450 million yacht. The point I want to make is he didn't see it coming. He didn't anticipate that people might find that somewhat offensive. That is the disconnect that we're talking about. In the United States, one man can spend $250 million and alter the direction of the presidential election. There is the social disconnect. These social problems and the environmental problems I just described, these are not externalities, these are not unintended consequences, they are a product of the system as it is designed. If we want to fix these, we have to start to rethink the system. Even in business education, where I come from, I have to acknowledge that we are faltering as well. Business education has been ossified for decades, and it is creating people that are changing the system, that are leaders in business, and we need to create a different kind of leader as we go forward. And we know this. These are all quotes from people within business schools saying business schools need to change. And I love the point that business schools teach innovation, but themselves rarely innovate. Rather, they remain stuck in approaches to business education that have changed very little for more than half a century. And this isn't just in the United States. European business schools are doing the same. How do we know we're stuck? Look at who we admit. Look at what we produce. The input. Students who apply to business school typically score higher on what's called the dark triad. They are more narcissistic, they suffer from psychopathy, they have Machiavellianism at higher levels than other students on campus. I see this at my own school. My school is called the Ross School of Business. Other students on campus call my students Ross Holes. That is because of the dark triad. What do we do to them? Management education enhances self-monitoring and self-oriented values. People become very much more selfish, and they focus much more on what other people think of them, particularly around money, around salary, and I see that around graduation time. And then what's the output? Students are taught to make things efficient, and this comes into business. This was a study done, and it came out in the National Bureau of Economic Research, and they looked at companies in the United States and Denmark, and they looked at them over the course of 5 years, and they split them into two samples. Those that were run by people who went to business school, those that weren't. Between the two samples, no difference in profit growth or revenue growth. The big difference between the two samples, those that went to business school, labor wages went down 6% in the United States and 3% in Denmark. They did what they were taught to do. They made the system more efficient. They did what they were taught to do. They screwed people. And so this is what we've historically produced. Now, I'm not going to try and keep going down the downer path here and try and bring it back, because there's something exciting happening that I think speaks to what we're doing here, and it gives us some hope. Because today's students that I see coming into the business school are different. The next generation of business students coming in, they look at business as a place to have a positive impact in the world. They want to have purpose. They want to have meaning. They care about climate change. They want to do something about it. There's a phenomenon of conscious quitting now. People who go into companies, and if the values don't align, they will leave. They see business as a place to make the world better. I think about Paul Pullman's quotes, former CEO of Unilever, who said, businesses need to make money not by creating the world's problems, but by solving the world's problems, and the students are there. And they're starting to push back. They're starting to ask for more. They're starting to challenge and question the education they're getting. And this is exciting. This is an opportunity. The students coming in today into business want to make the world a better place. And that is key. That is what we need to bring forward. So, what kind of new questions should we be asking to feed this need, to serve this next generation of future business leaders? Well, how does capitalism need to be amended? We have what we call today shareholder capitalism. It's been around since the 1970s. Every one of us in this room, that's the only the form we know. There was a form that preceded it. There will be a form that follows it. Capitalism is constantly evolving. What will it be? What will it look like? One question that will come up is, what is the purpose of the firm? Most people, when I ask them that question, they will say to make money for the shareholder. Is that always true? Does that lead to short-term thinking? Does that lead to reduced focus on R&D? Does that focus just on money and quarterly returns, and does that destroy companies? Just ask people at Boeing, and you'll find out the answer is yes. The company used to make really high-quality products, merged with McDonnell Douglas, started focusing on quarterly returns, started outsourcing manufacturing, and the company is now in deep, deep trouble. What kind of capitalism do we want? I teach a course to students called Re-examining Capitalism. In the first class, I say, can you define capitalism? I might, if I could poll you, can you define capitalism? My students can. And I find that really ironic, especially if you look at surveys to show that Gen Z and millennials are disenchanted with capitalism, and yet they can't define it. And so we start to think about what kind of capitalism do we want? How we structure the market is a reflection of the values we have in society. We have liberal market economies, we have coordinated market economies. We can focus on metrics like GDP is the only thing that matters. In the United States, our GDP is #1. Go USA. And then you start to look and go, but wait a minute. Our Gini coefficient, which measures income inequality, is number 114. Maybe that's not the economy we want. You can look at Italy. Your GDP is number 8. Your Gini coefficient is number 71. You can look at a place like Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Denmark. GDP is only number 38, but their Gini coefficient is number 8. Their social progress indicator, number 2. Their quality of life is what they start to measure. The irony about GDP as a singular metric of our economic progress is that the economists who developed it in the 30s warned, do not use this as a singular metric of income and, of economic growth and prosperity. It only measures the movement of money. It doesn't care whether it's good or bad. I could start my day eating donuts, have lunch at McDonald's, have dinner at Burger King. I could do this every day and GDP goes up. And then I can have a heart attack and my family takes me to the hospital and GDP goes up. And then I die and my family has a funeral for me and GDP goes up yet again. GDP doesn't care. As long as money moves, it doesn't care. And yet that's what we hang on. So we have to start to think about what kind of capitalism do we want? Start to think about what is the role of business, government in the market, and business and policy making. And what I see here, the collaboration with government, universities, and industry and technology to bring this all together, it has to be coordinated. We have to bring it together. And we're stuck in these simplistic debates, these binaries. It's either socialism or capitalism. Well, there's a whole huge gray zone in the middle there. It's either liberal or conservative. It's either socialism or it's either more or less government. We need to start to think about the right balance. Mariana Mazzucato, an economist, has been doing a lot of really nice work, pointing out that, for example, that cell phone you have in your pocket would not have been possible without government research money. To do the basic research handed off to Apple or Nokia or any other company to develop the products that we use. We need to rethink some fundamentals that we take for granted. Technology will not solve all our problems. I really like seeing in there the public engagement in this project, the connection with consumers, making people aware, making sure that it's equitable. You can automate systems. If it put people out of work, is it going to work? You can have automated cars, but if it puts taxi drivers and long-haul truckers out of work, is it going to solve the problem, or is it just going to make things worse? Efficiency is not always good. In business, we worship at the altar of efficiency. If it makes things more efficient, it's good. It may be more efficient to move manufacturing to another country. You may get cheaper products. But what about the community that's left behind, that's left out of our economic calculations? How do we bring that back in? Some metrics, such as GDP or discount rates, can lead us astray. I've already talked about GDP. Discount rates, it's become sacrosanct. $1 tomorrow is worth less than $1 today. This is true. But let's say we use a 10% discount rate, a standard discount rate. Straight line depreciation, everything 10 years beyond is worthless in our calculations. Is that true? No, that's called our future. That's called our children's future. And yet GDP blinds us to those concerns. We need to have a serious discussion about limits to economic growth and unbridled consumption. Can we have something called sustainable consumption? There's the Gordian knot. I don't have an answer for you, but there's the challenge we need to start to think about. And we need to stop teaching the cynical view that people are inherently selfish. This is embedded within our curriculum. Our curriculum is built on a Hobbesian model. Dog eat dog. That's what we teach. If you are making money, it's rational. If you do something that doesn't make money, it's irrational. This is what we teach. This is embedded, and we need to go beyond this. Sumantra Ghoshal, who is a professor at the London Business School, wrote a paper that really got a lot of attention, pointing out bad management theories are destroying good management practices. And there's a challenge before us. Finally, rethink the role of the business manager. And I think young people are there. They're ready for it. I have started teaching management as a calling, as a vocation, to serve society, not just make yourself rich. And the irony is that's what business schools were originally founded to do, to teach future business leaders to in the same spirit we teach doctors, to serve society, to make society better, to seek the higher aims of commerce, to help people. And we need to bring that back. We need to bring that back into business, and we need to bring that back into business education. And I think young people are there. We need to go forward. So let me leave you with a closing challenge. And to do that, I want to show you a picture of my grandparents. And there's my grandmother. And I remember when she died, thinking about it. She was born in 1899. She died in 1995 in a little tiny mining town in Pennsylvania. And I thought about her life. She saw the advent of indoor plumbing. She grew up in a house with an outhouse. She saw the advent of indoor electrification. She grew up in a house with oil lamps. She saw the first car. She saw the first flight. She saw man land on the moon. She saw all that and more. If I had told her when she was the age of my students, this is the world you will die in, she would have said, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. If I could tell the students today, if I had a crystal ball, the world they would die in, they would say, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. I think the change is going to be even faster because the pace of change is so much faster. But the challenge before us is not to think about trying to predict what that future world is going to be. The challenge is to say, what kind of role do you want to have in making it the world you want to be? And that inspires people to greatness. That inspires people to push forward and think carefully about what role they want in their life to fill their vocation or their calling to make the world they want it to be. And that's what I see here. That's what I see in this whole project. The beauty is the change is already happening. There are some exciting areas, to my mind, where we can get glimpses of where this is going. Every single market up here is changing because of the sustainability challenge. Every one of them is affected by this. I have a personal sort of hobby. Whenever I meet someone who is making their money connected to the environment, whether it's a farmer or someone's growing wine, grapes for wine, or a rancher, or someone bottling water, I say, do you see climate change? And I get one of two answers. Either one, yes, absolutely. I'm irrigating fields I never irrigated before. I'm seeing pests I never saw before. I can't grow what I used to grow. I'm growing something different now. Or the other answer I get, I'm not ready to say that climate change world. That's that liberal issue. But I'm seeing something I've never seen before, and I don't know how to deal with it. Either answer is fine with me, but every one of these is being affected by a changing world around us. Some that I think are most important, or give up glimpses of where we're going to go. What kind of world will you die in? Insurance. Right now, insurance is changing radically because of insurance payouts from natural disasters. Every one of the graphs up here comes from an insurance company, not from an environmental group, not from the government. Natural disasters are going up. Payouts are getting very unpredictable. That's what makes insurance companies uncomfortable. So property insurance is going up significantly in cost, down in coverage, exclusions are being added. Insurance companies are pulling out of entire markets. This should scare us. Insurance makes the market go. You can't drive a car, you can't build a building, you can't do anything without insurance. This is the canary in the coal mine. You can say climate change isn't real, but you're going to pay premiums because insurance companies saying, we're just looking at the numbers. We have no political dog in this fight. It's changing. And the interesting thing is, it's not just because of the big sensational disasters you see. It's because of something called secondary perils, ordinary things that have now become extraordinary. Rain events we've been dealing with for a long time, but now we have a new vocabulary. We have atmospheric rivers that dump massive amounts of water that cause significant damage that has to be paid out, whether it's damage to urban infrastructure. I understand you've had recent landslides here. This is very costly. Whether it's farm losses because of heavy rain events, this is paying out. We have heat events now that are buckling highways, softening runways so they can't be used, buckling metal roofs. We have hailstorms now that the size of them kill livestock, damage roofs, damage cars. These are the payouts that insurance companies are starting to face, and it will ripple through the economy. We can think about finance. Again, what is the purpose of the firm? BlackRock, Business Roundtable, World Economic Forum have all tried to redefine it. I can find fault with every one of these. They're very sketchy attempts to do it, but the conversation's been engaged. What is the firm for? Is it merely just for the shareholder, or is it for society? Where will we be in 50 years on this question? We could talk about mobility. And I see that up here, the green mobility. It's not just that the transition is in play. I come from the University of Michigan. We're right next to Detroit. I have a lot of connections in the auto sector. Ask anyone in the auto sector, what's the future of the automobile? It's electric. What's right behind it? It's autonomous. I'm looking at the age group in this room. How many of you are uncomfortable about getting into an autonomous vehicle? I'm slightly sketchy. Young people have no problem with it. If you want a nice analogy, when driverless elevators were first introduced, people were terrified to get into them. When escalators were first introduced, you had to have people at the beginning and at the end to help people on and help people off. And now we take them for granted. What would a future look like where this is at play? Right now, this city has cars parked all over the place, as does every city. Right now, 95% of the auto fleet, and at any time, 95% of the auto fleet is sitting idle. It's a wasted resource. It's doing nothing. When your children die, when young people die, could it be that all those cars will be gone? No one will own a car, and this event will end, and I'll take out my phone, and there will be a car waiting for me, and off we go. That is not in the distant future. The auto companies are trying to develop the technology, and it's all in the algorithms to try and predict demand and take you where you need to go. And then the car becomes something totally different. Where will that go? And then we can look at energy. What will power this building 50 years from now? Will it be huge baseload power? Will it be wind? Will it be solar? Will it be something else? Will it be storage? Whether it's electric, whether it's batteries or water storage, you name it, the system is changing. The market is changing. It is changing all around us. A lot of philosophers, Bruno Latour and others, look at the Anthropocene and they describe it as a cultural shift akin to the Enlightenment. Prior to the Enlightenment, nature was something that dominated us, and we were afraid of it. We tried to understand it through religion. The Enlightenment comes along, and now we can dominate nature. We can take it apart, we can tinker with it, we can put it back together. In the Anthropocene, we're recognizing that model doesn't quite work anymore, and we're commingled, we're intertwined. And so how do we think about that going forward as we start to think about the society we're going to have? That's where this gets fun. That's where this gets exciting. It will invite pushback. Oh, I want to add one more thing. I put this in at the end because I figured Italians would definitely love this topic. What will we be eating in 50 years? Can everyone eat, we're in a world of 10 billion people, can everyone eat a steak every night like everybody in the United States would like to do? Obviously not. Will we be eating vegetable-based meat? Will we be eating lab-grown meat? Will we be eating insect-based protein? I'm watching faces, a lot of shaking heads. My students aren't afraid of it. It's really fascinating. Now, it's obviously not all going to be like putting a cricket in your mouth, but you can think about insect-based protein like seitan or tofu. And believe me, a lot of money is going into this. This market is developing. Is this the future? In the United States, or probably even here in Italy, sushi wasn't introduced in the market until the 1970s, and a lot of people were appalled by the idea of eating raw fish. And now it's considered normal, it's considered a delicacy. All of these areas, what is the future of insurance? What is the future of mobility? What is the future of energy? What is the future of food? In 50 years, you can't imagine it. You can't. It is a world we cannot predict, and it will be something far different than we know today. There's the role of business. There's the role of business as a vocation. There's the role of business as a calling, to bring that world into being, to serve society's needs. That was the original purpose of business. Now, these changes will invite resistance. Climate change in the United States has become a partisan issue. If you're a Republican or a conservative, you tend not to believe in climate change. If you're a Democrat or a liberal, you tend to believe in climate change. On the right there, you can see that is not just a United States phenomenon. It has other parts of the world. We're having pushback in the United States because of ESG with investing, and a lot of states, Republican states, particularly states who make their money off the fossil fuel sector, are suing those companies saying, you can't do this. Why? Because they're protecting their monetary interest. They're trying to protect the markets that exist. And that'll even lead President Trump to call climate change a con job and a scam in a speech at the UN General Assembly. have no words for you on that one. But I just want to leave you with this thought, because as much as people can say this isn't happening, it is. The idea that we're in a new cultural shift akin to the Enlightenment is, to me, fascinating, because in the Enlightenment, people didn't know what was going on. It was happening all around them, and yet they were not aware. It is happening all around us, and many of us are not aware. Some are. So I want to just leave you with this thought from William Gibson. He said, the future is already here. It's just not very evenly distributed. Some people can see it, some people can't. Young people can see it, older people can't. Entrepreneurs can see it, the rest of us can't. There's the opportunity in business, not just to see the future, but to make the future. Thank you very much.